Welcome to Kind Park Stories, where every tale takes you on a journey through mystery, suspense, and the unexpected twists that keep you guessing. Get comfortable as we dive into another unforgettable story.
The Vanished Vault, the heist that shook a small town in 2007. In 2007, the sleepy town of Millcreek, Ohio, was as far from scandal as you could imagine. Nestled in the Midwest, it was known for little more than its annual Apple Festival, a quaint main street, and a bank with the strictest security in the region. But that year, Millcreek would become the setting for one of the most notorious heists the state had ever seen. It all started with a young, ambitious banker named Sarah Thompson. Sarah, 29, had always been responsible, reliable, and a straight-laced rule follower. She was the assistant manager of Millcreek Savings and Trust, known for her diligence and attention to detail. But beneath her quiet exterior, Sarah carried a crushing secret, one she thought she could handle alone. For years, Sarah had been trying to pay off medical debts after her younger brother's unexpected illness. Despite her strict budget, she was sinking under the weight of mounting bills and had even taken out private loans, desperate to stay afloat. When a slick-talking stranger came to town and offered her a way out, she knew she should have said no. But he seemed to know exactly how to manipulate her fears and offered her something she could never refuse: freedom from her financial nightmare. The stranger, who introduced himself as Mark Rivers, had a different agenda. Mark was a seasoned criminal with a knack for recruiting unsuspecting accomplices and a history of heists under his belt. He presented himself as a consultant and managed to charm his way through Millcreek's social circles, quickly learning the layout of the bank from Sarah's nervous disclosures during their meetings. After a month of smooth talking and coaxing, he convinced Sarah to join him in the ultimate plan, a heist so flawlessly planned that no one would know they were behind it. His plan was to break into Millcreek Savings and Trust during a storm on the night of October 15th, when the security system was scheduled for a routine maintenance check. The week leading up to the heist was tense for Sarah. She wanted to back out, but the thought of escaping her suffocating debt was overwhelming. Meanwhile, Mark started planting alibis for both of them, carefully crafting their escape plans. For Sarah, there would be no need to be physically involved. Her role was simple: turn off the alarm and grant access from the inside. Mark, a master of disguises, would take it from there. The night of the storm came, and the town was eerily quiet as thunder rumbled in the distance. Sarah sat at her desk, her heart pounding as she waited for Mark's signal. Just as they'd planned, she disabled the alarm and slipped away, her hands shaking. She left through a side exit, returning to her apartment where she sat alone, replaying her actions and wondering if Mark would actually follow through. Unbeknownst to Sarah, Mark had no intention of sticking to the plan. He saw her as nothing more than a pawn, easily discarded. After collecting a modest amount of cash from the vault to avoid suspicion, Mark wiped all traces of his presence, leaving behind only faint fingerprints in places he knew Sarah's hands would have touched. Then he disappeared into the stormy night. The following morning, Sarah arrived at work, feigning innocence as the bank staff discovered the missing cash. As the bank's assistant manager, she was interrogated by the police first. Her nerves made her responses inconsistent, and her vague explanations about the night before made her look increasingly guilty. The police soon found her fingerprints in key locations, and security footage showed her leaving the bank at a suspiciously late hour. Her colleagues, shocked, began to gossip. How could Sarah, the quiet, trustworthy banker, commit such a crime? As the investigation deepened, police uncovered her debts, her unexplained cash deposits, and soon had more than enough to bring her in as the main suspect. Mark was nowhere to be found. It was as though he had never even existed. Sarah's trial became the talk of the town. With her debts as motive and her fingerprints as evidence, the prosecution painted her as a woman desperate to escape her problems by any means necessary. She insisted that there was a Mark behind it all, a man who had manipulated her into opening the vault. But with no proof of his existence, the jury didn't buy her story. She was sentenced to 8 years in prison for grand larceny. 2 years passed, and the story faded from memory for most in Millcreek. But then, an unexpected break came in a different part of Ohio. Police arrested a man named Matthew Rhodes for a string of thefts, and his fingerprints matched those found at Millcreek Savings and Trust the night of Sarah's heist. Matthew Rhodes, it turned out, was Mark Rivers' real identity. In a twist of fate, Mark, now Matthew, had resurfaced, leaving a trail of scams and thefts across the Midwest. This revelation forced the state to re-examine Sarah's case, and after months of deliberation, her conviction was overturned. Sarah was released, but the experience had changed her. She emerged quieter, haunted by the betrayal, but also determined to start anew. The story of Sarah's heist, Mark's deception, and her wrongful conviction became a cautionary tale in Millcreek. The town had once judged her for her crime, but as her story became clear, sympathy replaced suspicion. Sarah's story served as a reminder that even the most upright person can fall into darkness when they're desperate, and that manipulation can lurk behind a friendly smile. The story of the vanished vault serves as a reminder that desperation can cloud even the best judgment, and that the allure of quick fixes often masks deeper consequences. It teaches that in times of need, the support of trusted friends or family is worth more than any tempting shortcut, and that sometimes the most helpful path is the one that takes honesty and resilience, not shortcuts. This thrilling story combines suspense, betrayal, and a lesson on the importance of integrity and trust. Perfect for a 15-minute suspenseful video on YouTube, it's sure to hook viewers with its twists and emotional depth.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure through Kind Park Stories.